Your life. If you invested $5 a day, have you ever bought a coffee, a snack, or scrolled through a food delivery app and thought, it's only $5? It doesn't feel like much. In fact, it feels so small that your brain barely notices it. $5 can't buy a house. It can't pay off your debts. It can't make you rich overnight. So spending it feels harmless. But here's a strange question. What if every single $5 decision you made was quietly shaping your financial future? Not tomorrow, not next week, but 20 or 30 years from now. Because the biggest difference between people who eventually build wealth and people who don't often isn't income. It isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. Sometimes it's simply what happened to thousands of tiny $5 decisions. Today we're going to follow two versions of the same person. They earn the same salary. They have the same bills. They live in the same city. The only difference is what they do with $5 every day. And by the end of this video, you'll see why such a tiny amount can completely change someone's life. Let's begin. Meet Alex. Alex is 25 years old. He just started his career. His salary isn't huge, but it's enough to pay rent, buy groceries, and enjoy weekends with friends. Like most people, Alex doesn't feel rich. Every month feels like a balancing act. Whenever people talk about investing, Alex has the same response. I'll start when I have more money. Maybe you've said something similar. It's a very common belief. People imagine investing is only for people who already have thousands of dollars sitting in their bank account. But that's not how wealth usually begins. Wealth rarely starts with a huge amount of money. It usually starts with a habit. Our brains love dramatic stories. Someone becomes a millionaire overnight. A stock doubles. A crypto coin explodes. Those stories get attention. But our brains ignore boring stories. Saving a few dollars every day. Investing consistently. Waiting patiently. It doesn't feel exciting. But boring is often where wealth is built. Now let's imagine two futures. Future Alex spends $5 every day on things he barely remembers. A coffee here, an energy drink there, an extra snack, an impulse purchase online. Nothing feels expensive. Each purchase seems completely reasonable. $5 today, $5 tomorrow, $5 next week. Life goes on. The money disappears quietly. Future number two looks almost identical. Alex still enjoys life. He still goes out with friends. He still buys things he likes. But every morning, before spending anything else, he automatically invests $5. That's it. No huge sacrifices. No extreme budgeting. Just $5. Here's what's interesting. The first week feels pointless. After 7 days, Alex has invested only $35. Nothing feels different. After 1 month, around $150. Still not exciting. This is where most people quit. Because humans love immediate rewards. If you exercise once, you expect to look healthier. If you study one night, you expect better grades. If you invest for 1 month, you secretly hope to feel richer. But investing doesn't reward impatience. It rewards consistency. Think about planting a tree. During the first year, it barely changes. You water it, protect it, wait. Some days it even looks exactly the same. If you judge the tree every single day, you'd think nothing was happening. But underground, the roots are growing. Money works in a surprisingly similar way. In the beginning, the roots grow before the branches. Your investment habit grows before your wealth does. Most people stop watering the tree long before it becomes large enough to give shade. That's why patience is so valuable. Now let's fast forward 5 years. Alex has invested about $9,000. Still not life-changing. But something much more important has happened. His identity has changed. He no longer sees himself as someone who spends first and saves what's left. He now thinks differently. Before buying something unnecessary, his brain naturally asks, do I really want this? That tiny daily investment has quietly rewired his behavior. Psychologists call this identity-based behavior. We don't simply repeat actions. We become the type of person who performs those actions. Someone who runs every morning eventually sees themselves as a runner. Someone who reads every night begins to think of themselves as a reader. Someone who invests every day begins to think like an investor. That mental shift is worth far more than the $5. Because once your identity changes, your future decisions start changing too. Now let's jump ahead another 10 years. Something fascinating begins to happen. Alex notices that his investments are earning money. Then those earnings begin earning money too. This is the part most people struggle to understand. Imagine rolling a tiny snowball down a snowy hill. At first, it barely grows. But as it rolls farther, it collects more snow, then even more. Eventually, it becomes much larger than the tiny snowball that started the journey. Money behaves the same way. Your investments earn returns. Those returns stay invested. Then they earn their own returns. Slowly, your money starts working alongside you. Not instead of you, alongside you. This is why time is often more powerful than the amount you invest. A small investment with many years can outperform a much larger investment started much later. That's one of the biggest secrets in personal finance. Time isn't just important. Time is the multiplier. Now imagine another version of Alex. He decides he'll wait until he's making 6 figures. Finally, 10 years later, his salary is much higher. Now he invests $20 every day, 4 times as much. Sounds smarter, right? Not always, because he lost 10 years. Those missing years can never be bought back. Money can be earned again. Time cannot. That's why financial experts often say the best time to invest isn't when you have lots of money. It's when you have lots of time. Let's zoom out even further. After 20 years, Alex looks back. He doesn't remember most of the coffees he skipped. He doesn't remember the random online purchases he avoided. He definitely doesn't remember every $5 decision. But he does notice something remarkable. His investment account has become something meaningful, not because he found the perfect stock, not because he predicted the market, not because he got lucky, because he kept showing up. Every single day. That's another lesson people rarely talk about. Consistency beats intensity. People often become extremely motivated for 2 weeks. They create impossible budgets, promise to save half their income, cut out everything they enjoy. Then life happens. They quit. Real wealth doesn't usually come from extreme effort. It comes from sustainable effort. Something small enough that you can repeat even when life gets busy. $5 is powerful not because it's a huge amount. It's powerful because it's realistic. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Money isn't only about mathematics. It's about behavior. Imagine someone handed you $1 million. Would they automatically stay wealthy? History says no. Many lottery winners lose everything within a few years. Professional athletes with enormous salaries sometimes go bankrupt. Why? Because income doesn't automatically create wealth. Behavior does. If someone can't manage $5 wisely, managing $5 million becomes even harder. Small habits reveal big behaviors. That's why investing $5 every day isn't really teaching you about money. It's teaching you discipline, patience, delayed gratification, long-term thinking. Those skills become valuable in every part of life. Career decisions, business opportunities, relationships, health. Because successful people often ask one question before making decisions. What helps future me? That's a very different mindset from asking, what feels good right now? One question creates comfort. The other creates progress. Neither is wrong, but only one builds long-term wealth. Now imagine yourself 25 years from today. Your future self is looking back at the decisions you're making this week. Not huge decisions, tiny ones. Would they thank you for spending every extra $5? Or would they thank you for investing just a little bit consistently? Here's something important. This video isn't really about $5. For some people, $5 is too much. For others, it's far too little. That's okay. The exact amount isn't the lesson. The lesson is that wealth is built through repeated actions, not occasional motivation. Maybe your number is $3, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20. The habit matters more than the amount. Because once the habit exists, increasing the amount later becomes much easier. Without the habit, even large incomes disappear. There's another mistake people make. They wait for motivation. I'll start next month. I'll start after my raise. I'll start after I pay off this bill. The problem is that motivation comes and goes. Habits stay. The people who quietly become wealthy aren't usually the most motivated people on earth. They're simply people who remove the need to make the decision every day. The investment happens automatically. The habit becomes invisible, just like brushing your teeth. You don't wake up debating whether to do it. You simply do it. That's the level every investor wants to reach. Because when good financial decisions become automatic, building wealth becomes much easier. So, what would your life look like if you invested $5 a day? It probably wouldn't make you rich this month. It might not even feel exciting this year. But years from now, your future self may look back and realize that one tiny daily decision quietly changed everything. Not because $5 was magical, but because consistency is, because patience is, because time is. And perhaps the greatest investment was never the money itself. It was becoming the kind of person who consistently invests in their future. Every great tree begins as a seed. Every marathon begins with a single step. Every fortune begins with a small decision, repeated over and over again. So tomorrow morning, when you're about to spend another $5 without thinking, pause for just a second. Ask yourself one simple question. Will this make today better? Or will investing it make my future better? That one question might be the beginning of a completely different financial story, and years from now, you'll be glad you asked it.